What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today I want to talk about France and what I expect them to do in Burkina Faso, Mali, and the whole Francophone area that's trying to liberate themselves. Now, this is what I expect them to do because this is what Western powers do. This is how it works. The reason why I know this is how it's worked because I've done things like this as the United States Marine. I know this is what we do, you know, when we want to stir some shit up. So what France is possibly going to do, I'm gonna say allegedly because I don't want to, you know, because we don't know, but we know. If you haven't heard already, France, when they got kicked out of Mali, when they got kicked out, they used their special forces and they dropped down and they released some prisoners that the Mali military had already captured. Now, the purpose of that, more than likely, is because those prisoners are probably part of the Tuaregs or other Arab groups that have been running back and forth in the Sahel causing problems for black Africans, okay? Because those Arabs are still running back and forth causing shit, right? The French already kind of forced the Tuareg to go from the east portion of Africa, from Sudan, all the way to the west, making it a West African problem after the French kind of like made a base right there in the middle in the Central African Republic, kind of like splitting up the Tuareg, forcing them to go more towards the west side on the borders of Mali, Niger, and all that, causing disruption with all the black Africans that live over there. Now, what the French are probably going to do, they're probably going to do deals with the Tuaregs and the other terrorist organizations who want to create a caliphate, because that's all the Muslims, that's all they ever want to do is create a caliphate. That's all they're into. They don't believe in technology, white Western ways. They want to stay in the Middle Ages. That's what these people, they're Muslims who want to stay in the Middle Ages, and they don't even like technology. They don't like the idea of anything at all, like no, and so they're fundamentalists. So what the French are probably going to do, they're probably going to empower the terrorists, the Tuareg, the tribe Tuareg, which the original Tuaregs were black, right? They're still black Tuaregs, they're still African Tuaregs, but the modern Tuaregs are now mostly Arab, you know, that you see, you know, the Arab mix. Have you ever noticed it's always like mixed? Mixed people cause a lot of problems. You ever notice that? Because they got, I don't know, yeah, that's just a whole nother story. But that might be a little bit generalization, but I mean, history, I mean, says it. Anyway, so the French are probably going to empower them by giving them weapons, by giving them logistics, so they can attack soft targets. You'll probably see, like you already saw, that some of the Niger soldiers got killed in an ambush. All of a sudden, how convenient is that? So the French, because they're getting kicked out and they don't have access to the resources, they've been stealing in that desert, all the shit that they doing behind the camera that we don't see, they're going to empower all the terrorist organizations to fight the military to try to maybe kill the president. I mean the guy that's in charge, or any of the Francophone countries, anybody, prime ministers, presidents, military personnel. They're going to have them attacking all the outskirting villages to cause maximum amount of chaos and damage and destruction and chaos, so that it'll cause pressure to say, oh, we need international forces. Look what happened when Europeans leave. Now we need NATO forces, blah, blah, blah. They're going to try to make it so they can justify international forces intervening, or try to force the African Union to try to intervene. Now, the African Union seemingly is kind of playing a game to where they don't actually want to do anything, but they got to look like they're doing something, right? And of course, we still have a couple West African presidents who shouldn't be the president, but he is the president, and he's doing exactly what everybody thought he was going to do in the place that they shouldn't be doing it, you know. So we still got a couple figurehead white Western puppets that's in charge, and they're going to try to put the press on them to actually do something on behalf of the French. Now, as far as America is concerned, America's not on the French side. We've never been on the French side. We have our own interest, and more than likely, probably for certain, kind of secretly, America's probably going to be on the African side versus the Tuareg side, because America's interest is directly combated by French's interest. Like, we want to take what they had. America will much rather have a functioning government where they can do business with. So if the functioning government is going to be the military, and they're going to have elections and all that stuff, America don't care. As long as we can do business, we can still get the things that we're going to get as Americans. That's how America rolls, right? So America's probably not going to help the Tuareg destabilize, because it's not in America's interest to cause more trouble in West Africa, because they're not stupid. They understand that by doing that is going to cause a situation where America is going to end up getting kicked out as well. And America don't want to get kicked out the same way France getting kicked out. So America is going to play ball with the people they see that's about to be the future of those places. Trust and believe. But the French, mark my words, when you start to hear more terrorist activity, more Boko Haram, more anything in West Africa, just know it's more than likely the French empowering these groups to destabilize West Africa so that African countries can look incompetent, so they can't get themselves together, so that the people are in chaos, so that people can't eat, so that millions of people have to migrate because of terrorist activity causing just mayhem. So that, like I said, so the United Nations, a peacekeeping force, or African Union peacekeeping force that's going to have a bunch of UN people in it, so they can go in and try to reestablish the things that they want to establish in the country and keep the things that they want to keep in the country. So I happen to know that the African leaders on the ground, they know this, because they're not gonna fall for the same shit again. They've been talking about it. You know, the African Union is getting stronger and more capable, and they're not gonna fall for the same tricks, because even though we have fallen for it plenty of times, everybody in the world has fallen for the trick, the white Western trick. They've all fallen for it, but they've also learned. And so we all just kind of got to wait and see what maneuvers and tactics West Africa takes, because keep in mind, West Africa also has allies. We got Russia as an ally. Right now, we're not saying they're our bestest friends and all, but Russia is an ally, because Russia, just like Africa, has been exploited by the Anglo-Saxon Europeans. Okay, the Anglo-Saxon Francophone Europeans. There's always been their enemy. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend right now, situation right now. We also have other countries like Turkey. We got countries like China who have interest in these countries and would like to do business too. So they're more than likely, they will probably somehow clandestinely be backing up the West African countries that's trying to liberate themselves from the Francophone, from France, because it behooves other countries who want to ally with West Africa to show a little bit of solidarity and show a little bit of cooperation in order to gain resources and good businesses later. All right, because it's all an investment, it's all transactional for the most part, but that's pretty much what's going on. So everybody just look out for it. So if you see any type of new terrorist activity, or if you see an embellishment on CNN, Fox, MSNBC, because when it comes to international stuff, all these entertainment news networks, they work together and they'll pump out the same propaganda. They only fight each other on domestic issues because that's how they make their money, all right? But when it comes to overseas, all that shit stops. They'll start talking about, they will all in unison make Africa look a certain way, spin a certain narrative to get us to believe, any old thing they want us to believe. Right? They also need to distract from what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. Did you know that Ukraine lost almost so far 400,000? Did you hear what I just said? 400,000 people in the war. 400,000 people in the war. Keep in mind, if you notice, they never tell you how many of you, if you watch any CNN, Fox, any US based, UK based news source, they'll never tell you how many Ukrainians actually died, but they'll just keep telling you how many Russians they think died, because they want you to just think about the death of Russians. They don't want you to think how many Ukrainians are actually dying. But on both sides, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people are dying, and this war doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. And they don't want you guys paying attention to what's going on in Russia, Ukraine, because right now the most horrible, disgusting, just hellish conditions. It's just the worst shit, the worst kind of war that's possibly could be happening. Just the worst human disaster. This is like genocide. They're like genociding each other right now. The Western powers has gotten Ukraine and Russia to basically commit genocide on each other. These are two people groups that are historically cousins, related, brothers and sisters, who are basically killing each other like it's Call of Duty, like we're playing a big ass game of Call of Duty, but nobody gets any revives. All right, that's how. But they don't want you to see that, because they don't want you to see the carnage that we, the taxpayers, are paying for. All the struggling shit, why we ain't got food in the grocery store, why gas is so high, why everything is going up, because we have to pay the price, because we have to pay for all the bullets and bombs and missiles and cluster munitions to go over there to kill those people. So everybody in the world is being affected by this war, all right? So, but anyway, that's what's going on. I just want to give y'all a heads up. So keep your eyes open and don't let white Western media use their propaganda to trick you to believe that what's happening is not happening. Pay attention to eye reporters, basically people who are on the ground, who are telling the truth. Look at other sources of news like Indian news, Pakistani news, Asian news, because they don't have the same agenda, so they'll tell the truth. All right, they'll say what's really going on because they don't have the same agendas as the white Western world. All right. So anyway, that's all I want to say for now, guys. Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach them. I'm out.